12 June 2020, and I'm joined by Mr. Tinashe Jonas from Zimbabwe. How are you, sir?
I'm very fine, especially when I'm on Gambakwe Media.
Right, fantastic. You saw the press conference by Kazembe. What do you think is happening?
The press conference, to me, it's a spotlight on opposition political parties. We have failed to strategize to remove ZANU-PF. We are now praying for the second coup. It's an admission by opposition political parties that there is no clue. They don't have a clue. We don't have a strategy on removing ZANU-PF. When a country is undergoing a coup speculation, it creates uncertainty. And this uncertainty affects investment, affects the economy, and the social, political, and economical order. You need to kill the speculation for the country to move forward. On the other part, we have got G40, which was feeding. We know that they were in good positions in the government, and they have lost their farms, they have lost the finances, incomes. Obviously, they are also trying to disrupt the work of the government by creating falsehoods. And we also have, oppositions which have failed to take over power. So, as opposition political parties, we are also, the country is not putting spotlight on us. There's no opposition political party in Zimbabwe currently which has got a strategy to remove ZANU-PF. From MDC Alliance to MDC Coupe to Ideal Zimbabwe to People's Powers Movement to any other opposition in Zimbabwe right now, in all honest, there's no party right now that has got a strategy to remove ZANU-PF currently. So that's why the opposition is now in the gossipy mill. I don't understand why a coup must be talked about for 2 years. Are we saying ED is not a Zimbabwean? Because if an ordinary Zimbabwean understands there's a coup which is uploading, so are we saying the intelligence won't update ED at any given day that there's a coup coming up, and then ED won't put his house in order? A coup must be a surprise. It must come from nowhere. And then the next thing, people must hear ED is under arrest or house arrest or ED killed, whatever it is. We can't talk about a coup for 2 years and then we expect ED and in this administration not to come across such information. The truth is we don't have an opposition in Zimbabwe. Anyone who is purporting to be an opposition is lying to himself, is lying to his supporters. ZANU-PF is a party which is alone. Some of the problems that the country is going through is because there's no opposition. Any opposition in Zimbabwe, the leader of the opposition wants to be a president, wants power, positions, money, wanting a government of transitional authority, wanting a GNU. All this confusion in Zimbabwe, opposition, they are not doing it to punish the government. They are doing it to put spanners on the current administration so that they force a GNU. That's what is happening currently. We don't have an opposition party in Zimbabwe. Opposition parties, they don't have strategy. We can say ZANU-PF is using the military, it's using the abusing state. If you're in opposition to a ruling party that is abusing power, surely your strategy must be countering a ruling party that abuses power. But if you're in opposition that says the ruling party is brutal, the ruling party is abusing power, and then you cry foul, and then you cry for sympathy. Sympathy from who? When the ZANU-PF government administration, they were facing Ian Smith, did they cry foul? So we have got an opposition that, look at what is happening in opposition right now. The fight doesn't have, it's not involving the ordinary people, suffering people. The fight between Chamisa and Coupe is not involving corruption within the government. It's not involving the lack of the falling of our currency on money markets. It's not involving the poverty in Zimbabwe. So, but the opposition is so clever that they change the narrative to ZANU-PF. So that whenever there's poverty, there's a problem in Zimbabwe, it's ZANU-PF. So, when are we going to put the opposition on spotlight and analyze what kind of opposition is in Zimbabwe? Since 1980, the opposition is crying. The ruling party is using force, is using this and that. And then what?
Okay. So, in your opinion, is a national transitional authority or a government of national unity a solution to the situation in Zimbabwe?
That's not a solution. If the government of national unity was the solution, then opposition political parties were not supposed to be contesting in election. They were supposed to negotiate with the ruling party. The country can't put resources on doing an election, and soon after election, then people sit down and do a GNU. So, what was the purpose of election? We are breeding leaders who are self-serving. Opposition parties are fighting ZANU-PF, as Mr. Ngosana Moyo said. They are not fighting the system to remove the system. Opposition political parties are fighting ZANU-PF to be included in the system through a GNU. So what Mr. Beat is doing, what Mr. Chamisa is doing, whoever is doing whatever is doing, or Mr. Kasukwere, can we say Mr. Kasukwere wants to remove ZANU-PF? Is Mr. Kasukwere having a capacity to remove ED tomorrow? Are we saying Jonathan Moyo is going to remove ED next month? Is the leader Nelson Chamisa having the power and the capacity to remove the ED administration in 2 months' time? With what Mr. Wiwa Job Sikala is calling for toy, is a toy and a weapon to remove ED's government this month? We are dealing with Zimbabwe is now the opposition is basing its strategy on anointing oil, on dreams, on prophecy, and the rumor mill. These are the key strategies of which our opposition is basing on their strategy to remove ZANU-PF. And that won't work. We don't want a GNU. What we want is, if ZANU-PF is running the country right now, they need everyone to help them. So much that if it comes 2023, maybe Chamisa or whoever, or Major Mkupe or Mr. Monzora become a president, he still needs the support of the whole country. Bickering and kicking and screaming that ED is failing, ZANU-PF is failing. What we have now in power is ZANU-PF. Whether illegitimate or whatever way it is, but ZANU-PF is in control right now. So if we don't work together and they complement one another and whatsoever, we are going to cry forever. We have been crying since 1980. We don't have an opposition in Zimbabwe. Politics is not a game of numbers. Politics is a game of strategy. Let's go to America now, the so-called center of democracy. The last election pitting Mr. Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton. The Clinton camp is crying foul that Russia was involved in hacking emails and whatsoever. She's crying. But the Democrats and the Republicans right now are working together to make sure that America works. There's a racism storm in America right now. But wherever you go, there are demonstrations. The demonstrations are pitchy. There's whites and blacks alongside each other. But in Zimbabwe, when there's a political crisis, opposition and ruling party, they don't hold hands. It's like there's a completely two countries. The one inhabited by ruling party, the one inhabited by opposition. Democracy is when there's political contestation, the winner must govern, the loser must congratulate the winner and say next time. If the winner is using any advantages, clean or dirty, it's the duty of the other opponent. If you are fighting in boxing and then the other boxer is hitting you below the belt, it's your business to know what to do, because we can't have elections then GNU, elections GNU. In that way, we are showing Zimbabweans that as leaders, what we want is to eat. And if you look at the scenario of MDC MPs right now, it points to the picture of leaders who want to eat and to feed them. To feed their families. Nelson Chamisa said, don't engage in parliament. They all started running away to the Kupe camp. And when Nelson Chamisa realized that he's losing all MPs, he changed and said, engage in parliament. So what is opposition in Zimbabwe? We need to accept the status quo right now and work towards 2023. And are we doing that? No, we are fighting one another. So our politics is power, positions, and money. It doesn't include the ordinary suffering in Zimbabwe. The situation in Zimbabwe, which is deteriorating, it's an evidence of an underperforming ruling party. It's an evidence of a useless opposition parties in Zimbabwe. All combined, we are useless as opposition political parties in Zimbabwe. The situation in Zimbabwe, it shows that we have got useless non-profit organizations. Ngosi. Our non-profit organizations are working, they are either aligned to ZANU-PF or aligned to MDC, opposition. They are not neutral. They are not there for the ordinary Zimbabwe. We have got useless churches in Zimbabwe. Our church leaders are focusing on prophecy of disasters. They are not offering solutions. Every prophet is talking about ED being removed, Chamisa falling off the radar. What kind of a God that gives prophecy of disasters and no prophecy of solutions? The situation in Zimbabwe means the media is useless. Our media is captured by opposition or ruling party. Our churches are useless. Our citizens of Zimbabwe are useless people because they are being used by leaders. There are two narratives in Zimbabwe: a narrative of ZANU-PF, a narrative of MDC, and people are buying the two narratives. We don't have a narrative that is underwritten by citizens of the country. So the failure in Zimbabwe must be collective. Everyone, no one must take glory and the center stage out of the misery that the country is going through. Every Zimbabwean must be ashamed, must be embarrassed by the situation in our country. Why are we not united? Because there are people benefiting in the crisis. Opposition parties, they are being handled by certain funders. There's also, even in the ruling party, they might have handlers. So when polarization is funded, because there are people who benefit in a crisis. When a country has got war, let me give example of Libya. There is no war in Libya. It's funders who are funding the crisis in order to take the oil. So a crisis is funded, but it's us now Zimbabweans to say, can we continue eating the money from our handlers who are funding a crisis? It's us Zimbabweans to reject the crisis and come together. That's where patriotism is mentioned. Mr. Nelson Chamisa, with due respect, his fight is not for a revolution. His fight is to be the president of Zimbabwe. That's a personal agenda. That's not a national agenda. Leaders must start be a president of a country from the work what you have done. Zimbabweans must start voting for a president that is proven to change their lives. Are they doing that? No. They're just looking for someone. What is the track record of all the opposition leaders in Zimbabwe that they've done to change the lives of Zimbabweans? Which opposition leader do we know who is now standing with people in COVID-19, donating masks, donating sanitizers, donating in the quarantine centers? Do we have opposition leaders running around the quarantine centers or donating to poor people? We don't. We are, as opposition leaders, we are fighting in the corridors of power, in the comfort of offices, and in the High Court. No opposition leader is found dirty and smelling in Gokwe with the poor people. That's a shame.
So let us wrap this up.
Yeah.
How do we get out from where we are now to a Zimbabwe that is prosperous, that has got credible elections, where things are working?
Everyone must confess failure. When we confess failure, the second stage is then we realize that we need one another. Every Zimbabwean has got a duty to play, whether you are in power or not. But the opposition in Zimbabwe, they are not working with the government. Only when they are in government of national unity, when they are PECs, they are getting a salary. That's not patriotism. A government is like a church. You can even donate to the church. So we need to share the failure as a country. We need to share the victory as a country. We want teamwork. We want unity. We fought colonization. Our heroes, our people died to fight for freedom. But now that we have got the freedom, we are now calling foreign countries. People are excited. If the British ambassador to Zimbabwe is commented, the American ambassador is commented on events in Zimbabwe, people, the tweets, they go viral. But why? We are glorifying foreign imperialism. We are glorifying a comment from a foreign country. We don't glorify comments from Zimbabweans. Events happening in Germany right now, do a tweet by a Zimbabwean go viral in Germany?
No.
So we have got self-hate. Zimbabweans, we don't love ourselves. You can take even the music. We love music from Jamaica. We love style from America, from South Africa. People are even ashamed that they love Macheso, they love Leonard Dembo. People will tell you about Beyonce, about whoever. We have got self-hatred.
Okay, so let's say we have realized all these problems and we allow ZANU-PF to rule until 2023, and we don't disturb them with all this talk of the coup.
Mm-hmm.
How do we then remove issues that are genuine, that are being raised by the opposition? For example,
okay.
How do you deal with the issue of electoral fraud, of the electoral regulations and rules that don't meet international standards, of abductions, of police brutality, of hunger, all these issues? We need a solution. And this is where we are stuck as Zimbabweans. And I'm sure we've expressed all the problems, but we cannot find a solution. What is the solution?
Okay. Remember, we are in a polarized political environment, and we are engaging in a political blood fight, not a political smart contest. It's a blood fight. When people are fighting, they don't observe the rules of the fight. Because the ZANU-PF wanted to retain power at all costs, opposition is fighting to take power at all costs. So obviously there won't be a referee. There won't be a referee. Now, what is the agenda of the ruling party and both the ruling party, the opposition, we can add the citizens and whatever? In Zimbabwe, when people talk about change, they talk about the removal of ZANU-PF. They are not talking about a change in terms of upholding of human rights, change in terms of good life. People, they don't care about their lives. What they want is Nelson Chamisa to be the president of the country. That's not change. So, if we don't change our agendas, our objectives as a country, we can change presidents. We celebrated when Jim Mugabe was removed by ED. And then people are not saying, and now are crying. What guarantee that if we change ED with another leader, we won't cry again? We are suffering because of our mindset. Our mindset is obsessed with the power. The citizens of Zimbabwe, they want ED to be changed by, or maybe Madam Kupe, or changed by Nelson Chamisa. They don't care about their own lives. They don't want the rate of the Zimbabwean dollar to improve. They are not crying for petrol. Zimbabwe, we are not stuck in poverty. We are stuck in poverty of mind. We lack wisdom, and the Bible allows people who doesn't have wisdom to perish.
Okay, so how do we create those common objectives? What is the platform for us to create that common objective?
Yeah, no, as I earlier said, that we have launched a movement called the hashtag Zimamoto, Cisha Umlilo, which extinguish the fire. Zimbabweans, we are pushing for Zimbabweans to be able to socialize outside politics. We want leaders to have dinners. We want leaders to play golf. We want, when there's a birthday for leader Nelson Chamisa, Comrade ED must be there. Madam Kupe must be there. We must socialize outside politics. The problem in Zimbabwe is that ED and Nero and Dr. Kupe and the other leaders, they can't meet without discussing an alliance or a GNU or a transitional authority. We always think of politics 24/7. We don't have brotherhood. We don't have unity. With the amount of hate in Zimbabwe, the country will never go forward.
Okay, so we are back again to the issue of Nelson Chamisa talking to ED Mnangagwa. It's ED Mnangagwa who is refusing to talk to Nelson Chamisa.
No. Let me clarify that. ED stretched his hand to Mr. Chamisa. Mr. Chamisa was offered to be an official opposition in parliament. He refused. Even talks, Mr. Chamisa is on record that I can't talk to someone who stole my goats. You bring my goats first, and then we talk. Mr. Chamisa is saying ED is not a president of Zimbabwe because he rigged the election. Now, ED now is saying, when you want to meet with me for a dialogue, you want to meet with me in my capacity as who? You know, because when two leaders meet, they must represent something. So, Mr. Chamisa is saying ED is not a president. I am the president of the country. ED stole my position. So now, how would you do talks in such an environment? That is toxic. Secondly, Mr. ED said to Mr. Nelson Chamisa, you can come to Poland. And then that's where I am. Mr. Nelson Chamisa is refusing to go to Poland. Why? He's saying, I have got many members of parliament, in MPs in parliament. Secondly, he's saying I scored 2.6 million votes. So you can't mix me with other leaders who scored 20,000, 10,000 votes. That's arrogance, that's pride. The word Zimbabwe must make us equal. If you are a leader who wants respect from other leaders, number one, you must respect yourself, you must respect other leaders. So we don't want a situation whereby when we meet other leaders, they must come in a helicopter, other leaders must come in a private jet, other leaders must, because of their speciality, they are special, their level of their value. We are not here to validate anyone. We are here to respond to a crisis that is affecting our country. egos must be removed from our politics. Mr. Nelson Chamisa must start recognizing ED as the president for talks to happen. Because, I mean, I was also singing that song that ED is not a president. I also declared myself a president. But can we move a country forward? What if tomorrow I win elections and ED says, you have not won? What would happen?
Okay, so you are saying the first step is that Nelson Chamisa should recognize ED Mnangagwa as president.
Yes.
And then what kind of dialogue should we have? Should we continue to Poland, or because Mnangagwa cannot get everything that is demanding. What if he also considers what Nelson Chamisa is saying, that the dialogue must be mediated, it must not be led by Mnangagwa, it must have clear parameters.
Okay. When we put conditions to a dialogue, it means we are not dialoguing in good faith. We don't want any mediator from any country. First thing, the Chimurenga 2 was done for freedom, for Zimbabweans to talk among themselves. We don't want Thabo Mbeki, we don't want any president. We don't want foreign interference in our country because we don't know their agenda. So that's number one. We need to dialogue on ourselves, on the problems within our country, affecting our country. We don't want conditions from ED, conditions from Nero. Nero would have 5 conditions. Tinashe would have 20 conditions. The other leader would have 100 conditions. Can we do a dialogue? Nelson Chamisa must recognize ED as the current president. So that if he wins the next elections, edition of elections, he must also get congratulations messages from every leader. We need to create a new order of doing politics in Zimbabwe. Whatever we have been doing in the past, yesterday or last year, it has proven to be a failure. We need to respect one another. We need to love one another. We need to do a dialogue in good faith. We don't want conditions at all. If we are to have dialogue, no conditions. Issues to do with Zimbabwe must be dealt with by Zimbabweans. That is called patriotism. And why are we celebrating Independence Day if our matters are presided over by other people from other countries? Are we as Zimbabweans being called to go and preside over issues in countries in Europe, in countries in Asia? Are we funded to go and settle political parties in Russia, political parties in Japan?
Is there anything else that you want to say before we close?
I want to say to Zimbabweans, no one must take glory. No one must be a hero when people are dying of COVID-19, when people are dying of hunger, when we have got a collapsing health care. The situation in Zimbabwe is a collective victory, must be a collective failure. We need to respond to the crisis in our country with the empathy that we can have, with the agents that we can, with every capacity that we can offer. Pointing fingers when we are dying one by one. You might not die yourself, but surely you've got a relative who is struggling, who died because of the poor health care. Let's hold hands. And the citizens of the country fight for good life. Don't fight for change in leadership. If your fight is misplaced, the fight will never end. We have been fighting from 1970 or whatever since Mbuyaneanda, Chimurenga 1, now Chimurenga 2, Chimurenga 3. We are going to reach Chimurenga 20, fighting and not even enjoying the fruits of our fight. Zimbabwe is for Zimbabweans. Let's not point fingers. Let's not worship foreign embassies, foreign bodies. Let's inspire one another and build our own country. We have got self-hate and we hate one another. Let's hold hands. Don't be a hero because the country is collapsing. What kind of a hero is that? Thank you.
Right, Mr. Tinashe Jonas, it's been a pleasure talking to you. Thank you very much for joining me today. Let's talk again next week as we expand on these topics. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.